Hey, this is Ken. Welcome back. Whether you're watching on my website, observationsblog.com, or on YouTube, we're going to have a little bit of fun. So we're going to make some real polymer clay. Now, most of you are probably already aware that polymer clay is not a clay. It is a plastisol, which essentially means that it's a polyvinyl chloride with a plasticizer, an organic liquid plasticizer, and fillers and other processing aids and pigments and so forth. And from what I've seen, they're fairly expensive. You know, $1.79 to $2 for a couple of ounces. So this is certainly going to be a much less expensive process. Plus you have an advantage of no expiration date and some ability to control color and so forth. So let me kind of go through this a little bit at a time. I'll get to the building of it real quickly here though. Let me give you a little background. I've known about plastisols. Actually, they're plastigels because of the rheology that they have flexibility and they work fairly well, and they keep their form while they're being baked. They don't droop or sag or so forth. But let's call them plastisols and let it go at that. I've got a background in chemistry, so I've known about plastisols for years. They're well known, and there's certainly even the polymer clays go back to the 1930s. But I was reluctant to get into it because starting from scratch meant sourcing the PVC powder and the plasticizer and the processing aids, and I thought it's going to be beyond what most people are going to be able to do at home real easily. And but I also do silk screening, and in my process of silk screening I do use water-based inks from the Hunt series, which are heat set. But several years ago I bought a plastisol ink, which is what professional silk screeners use, and I just found it to be a real bear to use. It was just not something that I can do at home. It had to be cured in the oven, and t-shirts in the oven just didn't really work out very well. So, but recently it happened to occur to me that plastisol ink really is a plastisol, but it's just not in putty form like you would recognize, something like Sculpey or one of the regular polymer clays. It's not workable. It's a liquid. So let me just show you here. Let me grab this one. This is a sample kit, and you can see it's a really nice bright orange, good color, but it is definitely a liquid. This is not typical of what you'd see as a let's see, it runs. Okay, now before I show you how I do this, let me first say, if you did nothing else, you could use this as an ink because it has the plastisol ability. This is the ink, just simply poured out onto a ceramic plate and baked at the standard temperature, 130 C, to 135C, 265 Fahrenheit to 275 Fahrenheit, which is typical of polymer clays. And here's the back side. So all of these, all of the 7 colors are right here. There's the blue. So that's just simply right out of the container. No modification whatsoever. But when I convert it into a putty, it makes a polymer clay, which is this. And now it is a true polymer clay. So we need to go through this kind of stepwise. I try and make my projects user-friendly, and I try and provide sources of material that you can buy locally. Well, this is one. I came up with this shortcut, but it will require that you, unless you live in an area where there is a plastisol ink supplier, which may be the case, but if there aren't, then you'll have to buy it online. And the other thing that you'll have to buy online is the sort of the magic ingredient, I guess, and that is simply this. It's white kaolin clay, and it's readily available. This is a 3 micron size. Now all of the links are going to be on my website, not on the YouTube. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or my site, all the links will be on my site, because there's be quite a few of them. And I'd also appreciate it if you would do any comments on the website, observationsblog.com, under the Science Technology Experiments section. But I'll post a link on that on the YouTube if you happen to be there. So here, let's make some polymer clay. So it's really very, very straightforward. Nothing really magical about it. Well, it is sort of magical. I find it interesting. I have done hundreds of experiments. It's been a difficult time for me experimenting. So I've had so many failures. Now you can use fillers, and I've used lime and other cornstarch, but those are really just fillers. Kaolin clay is actually a fumed silica, and it participates in the reaction itself, and it becomes a part of the polymer clay, and it really is an important ingredient. So here's how we do this. We take our colored ink, and I'm going to show you an alternative to this too. Notice I'm wearing gloves. Even with all polymer inks, all polymer clays, I still use gloves, because the plasticizer can leach out. So I just prefer wearing gloves. It's just a safer. So now here it looks terrible, but here's how we do it. It's basically just move it around, sort of massage it until it becomes covered in the kaolin clay, and then sort of you'll see how this. What we're trying to do is get it to the point where there's no longer any wet showing, and that'll happen fairly quickly. I don't measure this out. This is not a. There'll be some kaolin clay left over that you can either save for the next time you do the same color, or you can discard it. It's $3.74 a pound, and so it's not It's not like an expensive ingredient that you have to throw away. And by the way, any of this mess cleans up very nicely with isopropyl alcohol without any problem at all. So that's not a problem either. So now you start to see at some point that it starts to look a little bit crumbly, and that's when you get to the point where you can actually pick it up and begin to massage it into what we're going to be using as the polymer clay. And it goes fairly quickly. It's not a so I'm looking for wet spots at this point where it's still ink, and fold it over a couple of times, and it doesn't take very long. You can see there's still a little bit of wet here, but we're getting close. So this really goes very, very quickly. I normally do this in a pan, but I'm doing it on the tile so that you can have a little bit better view of it. So now, this is still going to be a little bit wet. So I want to make sure that I get it to the point where there does look at it looks a little bit crumbly, but that's okay. And you really can't add too much, because you can always add more ink, or you can use a little bit of mineral oil. So then you just kind of massage it into place. Put a little more on as you kind of go around. Try and pick up the little pieces that break away from it, and you can see it's already getting quite firm. And so this is going to work out fairly well, hopefully. And one of the advantages that I found from this is that it's a lot cheaper to do it this way, and I'll explain that in a minute. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I'm not going to make it as I normally would do it. But you can see this is a little crumbly, but that's okay. So now and here we go. We've now converted this from an ink into a putty. Now this is beginning to look a little bit like polymer clay. So let me get this out of here. This can be a little bit messy, so it's really worth investing in the latex gloves if you can. So now this is the normal way that you would condition it anyway, and and you can make it any firmness that you want. That's kind of another advantage, is that sometimes you do want a soft pliable clay, and other times you want to have a little bit more firmness. And if you look on the website, you'll see the cover photo of all the ones that I've done. And the only control that I have was the original Sculpey, which I really didn't like very much at all. It didn't work as well as I really wanted to. But there you go. I mean, that's basically what the polymer clay is. it's now a completely workable putty. So you can condition this just the way you would, the way you would normally. You can run it through my little $2 pasta machine that I picked up at a yard sale several years ago. That'll run through that fine. But what I did is, I'm gonna move this out of the way. To show you the next step, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. In full disclosure, I'm not a professional polymer clay artist. I'm not even an amateur. I'm just really learning how to use it, but I do know how to make it, and I thought that was the part that's going to be helpful for you. So once you work it, and you really have to work it, just like you condition. But it's okay as long as continue to work it like that. A little problem with the camera, but that's nothing unusual. So as you work this, normal conditioning, and then I'll just roll it out. And this is 1/4 inch. So you'll see how quickly this goes. So there you go. There's our polymer clay. I made a little fixture here, just 1/4 inch on one side and 1/8 inch on the other. That works out fairly well. Now when I bake it, it's a little bit different. I use a candy thermometer I wanted to use small real estate. I wasn't about to use an oven. I don't like the fumes, and I didn't want to use that much space. So I made this little oven. It's just a little spacer and ceramic tile, and I normally put the piece in there, and before heating it, and you can heat this without any problem, starting at 0. It isn't going to affect it, just like cooking food, cooked from the outside in. And you can't really overbake this. If they say 15 minutes for 1/4 inch thick, but really there's no reason why you can't do 30 minutes. In fact, you probably stand a better chance of it being fully formed, as long as you don't exceed the temperature of 265 or 275. You should be fine. So that's the way I bake it. I bring it up to temperature, leave it there for 25 or 30 minutes, and this is on an electric stove, and simmer works real well. So that's just an aside. Now there is one more feature, and that is for something really, really inexpensive. You can buy this in a white plastisol ink, and I'll have all the links on my website. But this is $15 for a quart, but it's almost 6 pounds, and it works out to about 39 cents per ounce. And all you have to do is add the pigments. So that's another option. So there are a number of things that you can do. A lot of fun, and I think that there are some real advantages to making your own. But this is kind of a proof of concept. So I really need some help. So any comments or useful information that you might have will really be helpful. And I trust my readers and viewers to help. There's a write-up on the website if you're on YouTube. If you're on the website, obviously you've already read that. And all the links are on the observationsblog.com under the science and technology section. But I'll link that on the YouTube. But so if you can restrict your comments to the website, that'd be real helpful. It's easier for me to monitor, and it's just easier for me and much faster to respond to questions, and some thoughts, and it's just a lot of fun. And that's what we're all. I've made a whole bunch of things using the Sculpey, uh, capuchon and bezels, and you can see that on the cover photo. Some of the things that I've done. So hey, I hope you have a little bit of fun with this. I hope that you'll respond and give it a shot if you have the opportunity. And hey, this is Ken. Thanks an awful lot for watching.